Good evening, everybody. This is WA7PBE, and this is the Operator of the Week podcast. Um, I took a little bit of a break last week because it was spring break. I had some stuff going on, and I'm not sure if the week before did it at 8 o'clock, but now I'm back to doing it at 7 now. Much better time to do it. And pretty excited. I don't have any major videos in the works right now. I'm probably trying to get to a park this weekend and maybe do something there. But as always, if you enjoy the content, please look at the links below for the Buy Me a Coffee and the Patreon. Once I get the 20 subscribers on Patreon, I'll do a giveaway. I don't know what I'll do yet. I have a couple of ideas, so I'm thinking about it. But anyways, without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce my guest tonight, KC1NQE, Shawn. How you doing, man?
Hey, Pat. How you doing tonight?
I am doing well. So, how'd you get into amateur radio? It's the first question I ask everybody.
Good. I watched a few of your streams, so I was kind of prepared for that one. Nice job, by the way. It's like putting this together, like really bridging the gap of the community, giving some spotlights to the people, your previous guests. Absolutely amazing. And fortunately, I'm fairly new to the hobby, so I don't have as much to bring, but I'm hoping to stand on their giant shoulders and do a lot with the hobby. So the way I got started was back in the mid-90s. I was a Boy Scout. I had a Scoutmaster N1 EMK, and I didn't understand the hobby back then. Didn't give it the full respect of what it could be. I was 14 years old, and computers were just hitting the shelf. And I mean, who wants to play with a walkie-talkie with your old Scoutmaster when you can play Oregon Trail? I mean, there was a big difference there. But on scout trips, we got to use the HTs. A couple of Scoutmasters had call signs, and we kind of did the assume the role of their call during the weekend. So got to do that. Then fast forward, didn't really do much. I went into the military. Got to play the RTO a few times. I was a medic with an infantry unit, so always kind of smart guy, curious. So I got to hang out with the radio operators and play with the radio stuff there. And didn't mind that they were an extra like 30 pounds to carry, but it was all good. And then about mid 2020, having nothing to do with what was going on at the time, I just happened to be sitting home watching a YouTube video and saw a guy talking to the ISS. And my mind was just blown away. So here I am seeing this guy that could have been like my Scoutmaster from back in the day. Sitting in front of the computer setup, he had the whole display of the ISS pass going over, explaining a little bit about the frequencies and stuff that was going to be happening. And I'm like, all right, this is really wild. And then he's talking to an astronaut that's out of this world. Literally, figuratively, it was just kind of the spark that got me going. And then it was like, all right, I'm over 40 now. I'm not getting my letter to Hogwarts. I'm not walking through a wardrobe. There's no ticket to ride a train for me. Everything, not going over the rainbow. That HT, that high frequency radio, that's almost my magic wand. That's like being able to do something that superpower, that Marvel thing that you get to do. So that's kind of what got me into ham radio.
Yeah, that's a pretty common theme I'm finding is that a lot of people were exposed as kids and maybe didn't necessarily pick it up, but then later in life, like, oh, you know what? This would be something cool to do. Something I think it's something you remember back on too. It's like, back when you were having fun, didn't have a ton of responsibility. It's like, man, I wish I did that back then because I could have been doing POTA all the time, right?
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. I spend a ton of time in the woods.
Yep.
Prior to even having the radio, I'm the type of guy that I like to go hiking, and I don't stick to a trail. I'm always off trail looking for something, like anything really. It's I do a lot of foraging and mushrooming and things of that nature, seeing what's out there that I can consume off the land that need be. It's fun knowledge to have. Two, like
Oh yeah.
test your will, test your merit. There's saying that there's old mushroom hunters and there's bold mushroom hunters, but there's no old bold mushroom hunters. So this is stuff that's in our environment that's all around us. That's like all you got to do is tap into it. And same thing with ham radio. Those electromagnetic waves, they're all around us. All you got to do is tap into it.
Yeah, you put it excellently. So, do you do a lot of backcountry ham radio operating? I guess you could call it.
And the 18 months that I've been a ham, that's pretty much all I've done. My very first radio was a Anytone 878 HT,
Hmm.
which I didn't know what I was doing. I kind of just went and took the test, studied online by myself, watched a whole bunch of videos, didn't really know much about clubs or the potential of people in my area that would also be in the hobby that I would connect with. I was just kind of like, all right, I'm going to study and take the test. That way I at least have that tool in my toolbox, even if I never use it. It's one of those, like, I just didn't know the potential of it at the time. I was just like, all right, let me get this in while I can. And all the things that I've done are out in the woods. I didn't have a home station. After the Anytone, I picked up the Zygu G90 because I kind of realized that it's like, oh, there's perks on the air. There's like, you could go set up field day stations, stuff like that. That was more my speed.
Yeah.
Again, I spent over a decade with the infantry and very comfortable in the woods. That's kind of
Yeah.
my element. So just combining those two hobbies of being able to be out in nature and now add in a little element of that technology that the radio out there and being able to talk to people and getting away from all the noise that's in the area. I'm kind of not a huge city, but smaller city. There's still stuff
Yeah.
around. I'm lucky to be up on top of a hill. So I got pretty good line of sight for my local stuff. But I really enjoy the HF, seeing what my local radio area is, and which kind of turns out I can hit all the way up into Canada, Florida, out into the Midwest on 20 watts and end fed. So I say it's give me a couple watts, some wire, and a bit of will, and I'll get out there.
Yeah. So that's this sounds like kind of what you're using right now primarily is what the G90.
Yes.
And what NFED do you have? Is it a particular one or just make it?
It's the one that Amazon had. It's the, I think, Chameleon NFED 3, NCOM 3.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's not a bad one. I'm trying to build one myself, like kind of based off of the car tenna.
Okay.
I was just taking that design, just slapping an SMA on it instead of the BNC, and yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to because my thing is kind of like you. I'm trying to get my setup as small as possible, but as powerful as possible at the same time. Like I want to be able to do like basically all the HF I can do from as small of a package as possible, but still have like a good punch to it. And that's why like the G90 is fitting that niche right now because like something like the 7300, it only does 10 watts if I bring a battery with it, but I mean it's not a small radio either. So
no, the 7300 is a little bit more to carry. Putting it in a backpack and carry it up. With the Zygu, if I take off the cooling rack on the bottom, I have a 6 amp hour lithium battery. I can actually put it into a small 5-pack. It'll strap right to the side of my leg and hike up side of the mountain. Generally, I keep it in a backpack because, I mean, there's a few other things that I carry with me. A water bottle, camel pack. Always carry a towel. If you ever watch The Hitchhiker's Guide or know the book, you got to carry a towel. There's just so many uses for it out in the woods that's one of my number one pack items.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to try to get like more in a woods kind of setup because I used to do a lot of like because I was actually in the Boy Scouts myself, and I did like a ton of like hiking and stuff. Like I went to Philmont and I went like down the Appalachian Trail and all that. It'd be awesome to go back there with a ham radio, even if it's not a POTA. That would be an excellent place to do some ham radio.
Ooh, that would be a fun radio expedition there. Gonna come guys together, do some HF Philmont.
I'm sure you could get a special event for it too.
Right.
Just get a special event call sign, like, hey, we're gonna be out here for a week running around the Philmont Scout Ranch and get on top of Mount Baldy and try not to get hit by lightning while you have an end fed up.
Or while you're doing some rappelling halfway down, making contacts.
Yeah, rappelling. You just do your call sign /R, and they're like, "What's R?" Rappelling.
You're rappelling.
On the side of a mountain.
Good stuff. Yeah. It's more questions. Yeah, most of my stuff that I do is just POTA related and really helping that program out.
Well, and how about you want to tell about your most recent experience though?
Oh yeah, actually, yesterday did my first SOTA activation. One of my Elmers that really helped me out in the past year and a half has been NZ1J, Dave. Go out, we do POTA together, and he got me, said it was going to be a nice day. Let's go climb up a mountain. It's not all that strenuous. Unless you're carrying a whole bunch of radio equipment and out of shape, then it's a little more strenuous. But we made it. We got up there and made 48 contacts. Most of them were on 2 meters and 10 meters, and
which is awesome.
Yeah, that was really really cool because a lot of times on 2 meters I'm using the repeater. That's where most of the action is, and haven't really programmed all the radios to do the scan feature and have it set up when I'm in my office. Working on it, like getting better at being able to get a radio set up to tune in. Got some antennas put up on the house now, and but to just get that random call on a 2 meter was almost as exciting as getting a DX content.
Oh yeah, no, I feel you with the 2 meter. Because like 2 meters is actually kind of a challenge. Because like even if you're just like, so for instance, around here in DC, there's a ton of people. But there's a guy at Joint Base Bowling, which is like right there in the very southeastern part of DC. And I was activating the Frederick Douglass House, which is kind of on top of a hill, like a couple of miles away. Man, I was having trouble just getting him just from a couple of miles away. So, I was sitting there in the parking lot, like hammering out contacts from like Mike in the Azores and, going all the way out west. But like, to get a guy 2 blocks away, I had to like run on top of the hill and like swing the antenna around and.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different style of being able to contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 2 meters is 70 centimeters, ton of fun. And then that was really cool. Like, so backstory, I was going up to Connecticut to go pick up my kid. I originally planned on trying to do a bunch of states, but that just kind of fizzled out because stuff that happened. And I had you ended up posting on my Discord. You're doing a meetup in Middletown.
Yeah.
Is it Middletown? Yeah, Middletown, Connecticut. It's like, well, that's on the way. I'll stop there and see what's up. And when I stopped there, for the people that didn't see the video, you guys were doing sub-millimeter contacts.
Yes. Yep. Sub-millimeter.
That's the first time I ever did that too. And that's pretty awesome. Like I didn't even really know that existed. Like I kind of heard things about it, but like no one does it. It's crazy.
Well, even the logging programs are just starting to recognize it because it goes to 1 mm. If you look on ADIF, there's a drop down for the different bands that you can work, and then it goes down to 1 mm. But if you look at the full ARL band sheet over on the right-hand corner, it lists out all the frequencies, and there's some in the upper gigahertz and in the terahertz range. And again, NZ1J, Dave, he's a fantastic, smart individual, very clever, engineering background, and he's like, let's set something up. Let's something that was a pet project of his, and really glad to be able to give it a platform.
So did he actually make the transceiver and everything?
Yep, he assembled the whole thing, soldered it together. He's done a lot of other projects similar. He has created a fox hunting device. It kind of looks like a larger version of what they used in the Ghostbusters, where it's giving you the directional finding. You turn left to right, and it lights up on either side depending on where the beacon signal is and which way you have to turn.
I'm gonna have to get him on here, man. He sounds like he has a wealth of knowledge.
Oh yeah, huge amount of knowledge. And he works very well with people like me. That it's like I kind of get it, but he has to just break it down just a little bit, and he knows how to do that. So I speak very highly of his ability to translate very technical things that has taken him 30 years to learn and understand, and being able to give it in a very understandable manner.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important in this hobby too, because like there's a very big cliff you can hit when it comes to trying to figure out how stuff works. Like at some point it just boom. It's just like a learning curve.
Yeah.
It's like that. I don't know. A lot of people probably won't get this meme, but there used to be a meme on the internet, like with the video games, like the MMORPGs. It'd be like the learning curves, and there'd be one for EVE Online. It'd be like a sheer cliff with people falling off.
Yes. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I used to play EVE Online, and that's how come I know that learning curve. So, yeah, don't play EVE Online. It's a waste of your life.
I'm familiar. I've dedicated not a lot of hours, but definitely dedicated some. I'm a very big gamer myself. I play more of the survival type games.
Yeah. Well, EVE Online's like the hardest core survival game there is, because you could literally lose everything in one blow.
Yeah,
it's craziness. But yeah, I don't want to bore the audience with video game talk, because only like maybe a third of them actually play video games. So.
Well, actually, on the video game side of it, ham radio is really making a presence within video games. It's not really calling it ham radio, but it's one of the newer, or not newer, game Rust that's been out there. They've been introducing radios and stuff in there, and if you actually look at the oil rig, the frequency that you have to turn the radio to, it's a 40-meter band.
Huh.
I don't know if it's just coincidence or like whatnot, but some of even the modeling of the radios that are in video games are very close to what's on the market. So either somebody's doing just a picture image search or there's actual like in-depth look into it.
Well, you know what's funny is I had the guys from why is my mind blanking? M17? Yeah, 17. I don't find me. M17 project. And they're saying like a lot of like computer programmers and whatnot are starting to get into the hobby because especially now with like the LoRa nodes and like all this stuff they're doing on UHF and VHF, they can actually like integrate that into computer projects and it like works together.
It's great when you can cross over a hobby and incorporate ham radio as well. And again, it's just becoming more commonplace in our society to use technology as a whole. So watching younger people get into it and kind of understand it from the ground up and be able to expand upon it as they experiment with it and learn more and become more familiar with it. There's a lot more that we could be doing with Bluetooth or wireless, stuff like that. Who knows what we're going to come up with.
Yeah, I think definitely something that's helping too is, kind of circling back is, portability, because, it wasn't long ago that radios were just boat anchors. Like you look back into even like the early 90s, radios were not very portable.
No, not at all.
If you wanted something that had like the functionality of like what a G90 has today, you were taking up a whole desk.
Right. And then some. I mean, a lot of the features that the SDR and the G90 handles, you couldn't do that with tube and rod. And we're going back to even spark gap connectors. I mean, there was no single sideband back then.
Yeah.
So to take the time to develop that, where we could sit down and within a period of time grasp the concept of single sideband. But I mean, go back and try and explain that to Marconi.
Right. He'd have a stroke. Like, what?
Yeah, he's like, drop a carrier wave. So it's just the collective progression. The more the common person gets to start getting their hands on it and understands the nuances of how it all kind of stacks together and is a ladder progression, it's going to move forward. I mean, we also have to look at what Dyson has told us. It's not you're not going to win over the hearts of the current people with a new idea. You're going to let the new idea brew with the younger generation and let them grow up accustomed to it, and then they're going to further it from there.
Yeah.
So same thing as our great-grandparents with electricity. I mean, all the campaigns of electricity in the house is going to kill you. And now, like, show me a person that doesn't have electricity in their house. Same thing with microwaves in the 70s. Microwave's going to kill you. Show me a person that doesn't have a microwave in their house now. So over time, humans, we like to take the path of least resistance. We're 70% water. So we like to do things easy. So we want those tools to make our life easier, and honing electricity is what humans do. We're the only species on this planet that can control fire. And with that, the electricity.
Yeah. You said it really good there. And, have you seen the, what's it called? True SDX? Have you seen that radio?
No.
I think you would like that one. Definitely look that one up. put it on your little wish list. Josh from Ham Radio Crash Course just did a video about it. I think that's going to be my next one because it's not as feature packed and as powerful as the G90. But man, that thing's like, I think quad band, but it's like this big. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I just did pull it up.
Yeah. You can buy them on
I'm gonna
eBay
read
or
this
whatever.
afterwards. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a read. And there is assembly required, but I guess
Oh,
that's
that's
kind of
cool. I like Legos.
yeah. I guess that's part of the fun of it. So, yeah, that's something I definitely want to look into because, like I said, man, I'm trying to get it as small as possible. Because even the G90 with I have a 9 amp hour Bio-NO and a Buddy Stick Pro. I mean, that's pushing a good 10 pounds in my backpack.
Right.
So, I mean, if I take out the Buddy Stick, put in end fed, it'd go down a lot. But man, that Buddy Stick is so nice.
Yeah, I've used buddy poles. I've used the end fed. Wire is going to beat a stick any day. That's wires in the tree is the best. And again, to my POTA pal NZ1J, they built just a simple wire dipole, 50 feet of length on either side, balanced line coming in. We run it into an MFJ tuner, and it'll hit every band. It's the simplest thing. It's just wires and a little bit of wood up on top of a giant pole saw. Yeah, took the saw portion off, kept the giant extendable pole, and put it on a car mount, put it underneath the tire, and you're up on the air with a 100-foot dipole.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like I think that was the one he was using on Saturday, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, he had that up Saturday, and also when we went down to Hammonasset last summer with Don W1FYG, hosted an event down at Hammonasset State Park, and it was only a couple days before that. Dave and I were out doing a couple parks, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna try this," and then he had it set up down there at the Hammonasset, and we're making contacts everywhere with that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really beat a dipole, but unless you want directionality, then you can beat a dipole with a Yagi.
Right.
Yeah. But so what? Trying to phrase it. What do you want your, I guess, a dream setup to be, or do you have it now?
Oh, I have no idea what the dream setup would be, other than just capability for all the bands.
Well, I was saying like bringing out to the field.
Oh, bringing out to the field?
Not necessarily at home, because like that's always going to change.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like one of everything, please. Like if you're going through the buffet. Out in the field, would definitely like to have the single sideband and digital. So being able to add in a laptop tablet or something that would be able to start handling the digital side of things. But not sure if I'm understanding the question. If you're looking for actual components of like what I would like out there, or just kind of like a wish list of what would work really well, because something like you're saying, lightweight, rugged, because I mean, out in the field, it's like more apt to ding something than you are having it just nicely sitting on your desk.
Yeah, I think Mike acts it best. What's your dream radio, both in the Shack and POTA?
Well, I mean, the ICOM 7300 is beautiful radio. I've used that out in the field and in the Shack, and have had like a lot of fun with it. Outside of that, not sure exactly what radios are really out there and comparing them all side by side because each one would have its own kind of function.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, I know, like in the shack, I probably wouldn't mind having like a flex radio.
Hmm.
Something I could remote into. But I think out in the field, I'm not happy with my G90. I just want something more portable.
I
But
think, and then you're kind of looking at some of the Elecrafts and whatnot, but
yeah,
then it's power versus weight, and it's a compromise. You always got to compromise somewhere and pick the right tool for the job. I mean, there's a dozen different types of Phillips screwdrivers for that reason.
yeah. Mike's asking Yaesu or Kenwood.
Ooh, I've had very limited experience with the Yaesus.
Mm.
My club has been super generous and has allowed me to borrow a Kenwood. Was it TS5? No, sorry, TS 450S, and it's an older radio, and I really enjoy it because it kind of has that like 80s vibe to it there of just all the buttons right up front, no real digital menus. Though I do miss the waterfall that the Zygu has. The sound coming out of it, though, for a radio that is older than I am, is amazing. So I would say if I had to pick between the Yaesu that I really haven't used too much and the Kenwood that I've had great experience with, I would have to answer the Kenwood just on bias.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite boat where I don't think I've ever really put my hands seriously on a Kenwood. So, and that's kind of like the tough thing is that like um it's kind of tough to say what brand is good, what brand isn't, because these radios are all expensive. It's kind of like what kind of car brand do you prefer? It's like I've only ever owned two brands, so
Right. Yeah. And with the Kenwood, it has a nice heavy dial on it. So as I'm going through the bands, even though I don't have a scope, it kind of gives me that tactile response of I'm doing something ham.
hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I know Kenwood also has a really good HT that eventually I want for satellites. Um, I'm trying to make like a portable directional antenna for satellites. So I could throw it in a backpack and go, in a woods somewhere and do satellites from the middle of the woods.
Mm. It's actually something else that I would like to get into is the satellites. I know I mentioned that it was like that spark that got me into the whole ham radio thing. And then I kind of went POTA off to the
Yeah.
side and went full focus on that. And would still like to work some satellites, even if it isn't the ISS. Friends with KC1NQE and NU1U, who are both like huge satellite.
Oh yeah.
They definitely kind of know their stuff and they have the equipment for it. And over the summer, when it gets nice and warm, when we can kind of be out there and enjoy it, set up some satellite stations and definitely start learning the ropes on that.
Yeah, I've tried and been fairly unsuccessful with Balfangs, but like I get pretty jealous because I do TikTok a little bit, and like I basically just only follow ham radio operators and firefighters, but mostly ham radio operators, and
I've never been on TikTok. I mean, I've seen some like TikToks on YouTube crossover,
yeah,
but for the most part, um, like I was very like shut off for a while. Before picking up a ham radio, I was that kind of proverbial like didn't really communicate with anybody. I would just kind of do my own thing, just very solo in life.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel you, but no, like I follow like a bunch of hams from all over, and especially South America. And, like these guys are like stock bow fangs, just banging out QSOs on satellites. I'm like,
Yeah.
how are you doing this? Well,
The Bowfangs seem like really great to me. It seems like everybody has a Bowfang,
oh, I
and
have
they're reliable.
three, four, four. Yeah, I have four. Well, three
Yeah.
that work. I broke one, but because I opened it up. Yeah, no, I mean they work. I have no issue with them. I know some people are like, oh, they're spurious, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know, they're not. You get what you pay for with them, that's for sure. But they kind of do set the bar with the bigger manufacturers, where it's like, hey, if you build it cheap, people will buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the end all be all to the discussion is that I think Icom's coming out with like their T10 or whatever, and you look at it next to a Baofeng, it's like pretty much the same thing. It's a
Right.
5 watt, like nothing crazy to it, and I think it even has the same chip, same transceiver chip as the Baofengs. In fact,
I would be surprised, especially
yeah,
with the backlog of chip shortages and whatnot. It's just manufacturers are gonna just start making a specific type of chip, and then other companies are gonna pick that up.
yeah. So I like the Baofengs. Like I carry them around with me a lot, especially on POTA,
Mm-hmm.
because if another ham shows up, you're like, here,
Yeah,
give me a 72 real quick.
I've actually ran in to a few other hams out in the park when just doing POTA activation and whatnot. And of course, you see the antenna, and that's just like a moth to a flame for a ham. You're like,
yeah.
antenna? Boom. You go over, check it out. Like, hi, how you doing? And it's like, put out your call sign. It's almost like saying CQ in across the parking lot. And so, yeah, I had a ham just drive into the parking lot while I was doing a POTA activation. And he's like, hey, I forgot his call sign right now off the top of my head, but he's like, what are you guys doing, POTA? I'm like, yeah. It's like, familiar? He's like, yeah, it's get home and hunt, whatnot. I'm like, how about a 2-meter contact? And he goes, I don't have any of my stuff. I'm like, not a problem. Here's a Bowfang.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great little thing. You can even just toss in the car and be like, just keep it there.
Yep, I keep one in pieces. Like I have the antenna, the battery, and the actual the 10-way. It's one of the knockoff Bowfangs, but it's in a little Ziploc in the glove box. So if I ever need it, charge, just kind of assemble it all together, good to go.
Yep. So this is a good question from Ham Radio QRP, which I don't know if you've seen his channel, but you would like his channel because he only does QRP, and he does some pretty crazy stuff. Yeah, you should check him out. He asks, do you have a favorite, most memorable QSO you've made in POTA? Where was it?
Let's see. Well, seeing I have to like really think about it, because I wouldn't say that there's one like outstanding, most memorable of like, wow. I would have to say like first time that I made a DX was I think it was my first actual POTA. Didn't have a clue what I was really doing. I just got my general ticket. The radio just came in the mail. Got it all together, put it in the backpack, walked up to the top of the hill, and I'm like, all right, I've seen a video or two of this, and I could write down the call sign, I could write down the time, everything else. Let's go. I got to talk to Scotland. So that was pretty cool right off the rip, making a contact into Scotland. But talking to all the regular guys that I talk to during a POTA activation, because I'm usually out every day, either somewhere local or in the past couple of weeks, I've been really pushing to get all the parks in Connecticut completed. So I've been hitting like 3 parks or 4 parks a day, and there's a little bit of drive time in between.
Yeah.
But I would have to say, like, talking to the regular people that I talk to on a daily that put out the hunting, Demetrius, November Echo 1 Delta, Mark, K1RO, bunch of people, Greg, K2HA, Hotel America puts out there, and even Mike, I mean, with his hunting and whatnot, being able to make those contacts. Because when I'm out in the park and activating the park, it's not about me. It's about we. It's like we're all doing those big things of activating that park together. It's like, yeah, I happen to be there calling out Marco, but everybody else has to kind of come find me, and they're the ones. I need 10 of them. I can't activate the park on my own. I need 10 others to help me.
Yeah, actually, Mike, I just got an operator with him, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, no, I hear you on that, and it's kind of funny because I think every part of the country has like those lists of people they talk to on almost every activation. Like mine's gonna be a little bit more different than yours, even though I'm only a few hundred miles away. Mine's a little bit different than yours because like I talk to N3XLS a lot.
Yeah,
talk to
I've talked to
Hotel
Bill a few
Alpha a
times,
lot.
extra large signal.
Yeah. ICP, I talk to him a bunch. What is the other one? Hotel Zulu Alpha.
Yep.
Talk to him
Alpha
a bunch.
Delta Quebec Andy out there. It's like there's a lot of guys that we've built up a relationship, a rapport, and it's you kind of look forward to hearing these guys like when you're out in the park, and it kind of keeps you company too. Of like, hey, we're all doing this together. We're having fun. It's part of the hobby. Loving it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely awesome, and I think POTA and SOTA and like all of these kind of get it out of the shack activities and get on the air. I think that's really helping the hobby a lot too, because now it's not just seen as like, oh, this is just a bunch of guys dwelling in their basement or whatever, playing with radios, talking to each other about their latest colonoscopy.
Right.
These guys are. I'm not saying those people don't exist anymore. They definitely do, but there's now a whole different, like, I think, branch of ham radio. I think this has kind of made a whole new branch where it's like, here's like the folks that the POTA and SOTA and even WWF. These guys are just crazy about getting out there and getting on the air.
Well, it gives it a real world application to it. I mean, it's one thing to do theory all day long, which is kind of just sitting in your home shack and doing with what you know it's going to work or what you think is going to work right away. And then actually just kind of putting all your stuff into a bag and going out. I mean, it's creating that real world adventure and that new experience. It's because no two stations that you're going to set up are going to be exactly the same. Even if you go to the same park and sit in the same spot, it's like something is going to be slightly different from the last time that you were there.
Yeah, and I think it really renews the statement that ham radio can be a service instead of just a hobby, because okay, if something really did happen and I have to leave my home and everyone else's homes is wrecked, I can actually establish communication.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big thing too. Is like, um, it establishes like, hey, we're not as much of a service as we used to be, but we can be if it's necessary.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it's a personal service to yourself because knowledge is power. And in a critical situation, being able to communicate with a non-affected area is going to give you a whole lot of knowledge. So that's going to give you a lot more ability to make decisions with that knowledge that you've been able to gain from the stuff that you're practicing along the way. So I hope nothing ever happens to the point where it's like my ham radio is my only hope. That, like I said, I've spent a lot of time out in the woods, a lot of time in the military, and if we get to the point where here in
Yeah.
Connecticut, a ham radio is your last resort, it's going to be some very trying times.
Oh yeah, no, especially like here too. Like if it ever comes to the point where, yeah, if it's in Washington D.C. or if the only way to talk about ham radio is like, you're probably better off 100 feet underground in a 6 foot thick concrete bunker. So
Right.
yeah, um, but yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, yeah, you have that tool available to you. I mean, it may not even be at home. You might be like, I don't know, out on a trip somewhere and there's a flash flood. You
Right.
know, it could be something wacky like that, and it's like, knocks out cell phone tower. And it's like, all right, well, I can go hop on you know, the Races or Aries frequency and be like, hey, some people in trouble over here. No, I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm actually pretty lucky. I am 15 miles from the ARRL headquarters.
yep.
It's like it's right there. I can talk to ARL on 2 meters or even 70 centimeters if I really wanted to.
That's funny. Yeah, you're kind of lucky. I visited there once. I want to say 5 years ago. Pretty cool place. I recommend like everyone go check it out maybe once. But it's a cool place. You ever get to go play with the radios there?
No, I haven't been up there.
Oh, really?
Nope.
I'd go check it out. They have some cool stuff there. Like they have like a whole little, I wouldn't say museum, but they have like some artifacts in there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, like I said, up into getting my ham ticket a year and a half ago, wasn't really like going out too much, and then once I did get my ham ticket, I don't think the ARL was like inviting too many guests in during
Oh yeah,
2020.
that's
So it
true.
was kind of just haven't had a chance to get up there yet. They opened up their ham shack and make some contacts from there. Probably in the future, I'll go check them out.
Yeah, I don't know if they're back open. I imagine they are by now, but I guess it's something you have to look into. And like I think on a weekday you could just walk in there and they'll give you a tour.
Hmm.
It's pretty laid back. Um, but yeah, so do you have any exciting plans coming up? Any more sodas? Any big potas?
Oh, yeah, Big POTA Adventures. We have 3 all-time new ones out in the middle of the Connecticut River, and those are the last 3 that I would need to do to complete all of Connecticut and work all of Connecticut.
Is
So
that
I'll
at
be,
no for like in period? Like no one's ever activated it, or
yep, no ham radio operator
wow?
has activated that or even attempted it. In their islands in the middle of the Connecticut River. So I have to get a boat that can actually handle the currents of the river to get out there with the equipment and actually activate.
Yeah, that's quite a challenge. Um, you what type of boat do you have for that? Do you have like just a kayak, canoe, or like a little fishing boat?
Right now, I have no boat whatsoever. In
Ooh.
terms of boat, I have no boat. We need a bigger boat. No, I do have some people that have offered to go out there. It's just mostly getting them
The logistics of it.
fully commit and go out there. Don Dickey Whiskey, Victor One Whiskey, the gentleman actually wrote the book on POTA. If you go to Amazon and type in Parks on the Air, he wrote the book for it. He's here in Connecticut and was interested in going out there as well. So maybe we might get a little contingent of activators to go out, and we'll activate the islands and the park and finish off Connecticut.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're definitely gonna have to tell Mike, and Toby wants to know, when do you plan on doing it?
That's probably going to be Alpha Delta 2 Charlie Delta. Hey, Toby. Probably May. I hope May. We have to wait for the brush flow. The Coast Guard has to go up and down the river and get all the kind of debris and stuff that came down from the winter and that's coming down from up north. Because some of those logs, I mean, huge logs that are underneath the surface of the water, and the Connecticut River does move fairly quick. So one of those smashes into you, it's not going to be a happy day. And I don't like cold. I mean, I was out activating all winter long, and I'm not a fan of the cold anymore. So it's like, I would like it to be a little bit warmer if I'm going to be getting wet.
Yeah, I could feel you with that. I don't think anyone else has done all of Connecticut yet, has they?
Nope.
So you will be the first one, huh?
Hopefully, yeah, unless somebody quickly scoots up there and gets them. But there's a couple very remote places where people just haven't gone to. We have the whole northeast part of Connecticut it's weird. It's very undeveloped for a New England area. Like traveling down a highway that all of a sudden turns into this road hasn't been tended to in a couple years too. It's now a dirt trail or almost like a tank trail, and then all of a sudden it's a walking trail, and you got to back your car up 300 to 400 meters before you can turn around because you can't keep going forward anymore.
Yeah, that's funny. So what's the hardest park in Connecticut you've done so far?
The hardest park, I think, was actually my first park. That was a very interesting park to take on as my first activation. There's no actual access into the park except for another park about 6 miles south. You park there and then you walk 6 miles to get to this park called Lamentation Mountain. Now, the way that I got to it is I drove up the highway, and then I found this kind of dirt pull-off on the highway, and then I had to play Frogger across 4 lanes of traffic, cut through the backyard of an HOA. Because originally I thought I could kind of park I looked on Google Maps, and I'm like, oh, yeah, there's kind of structure there, parking, I'll park there. No, it turns out to be a gated community taking up the side of the state park. And the rest of it's highway. So I parked on the side of the road, put my backpack on, ran across the road, and then it was like this all the way up. We're talking 20% grade, just going up. And it was about a mile and a half, and it took me a good amount of time and a whole lot of sweat.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And then I finally found some blue markers. If you check out my YouTube channel, I think you're a subscriber. For anybody else, you can just search for KC1NQE. It'll come up on my channel. It's POTA 1. And you'll see me. I find the little blue marker, and I'm like, oh, thankfully, at least I'm on a trail. I'm not just bushwhacking it through the prickers and the mountain laurel.
I haven't done anything that crazy yet, but I have a different level of challenge here because of RFI. So
Yes.
I have to find antennas that work well, and that can be a challenge. And then like there's some places here that have like no trees. It's like literally a concrete plaza.
Hmm.
So like I have to figure out like, okay, how the hell do I activate this thing? Or it's like a building. So yeah, I have that kind of challenge where it's like I have to make equipment adjustments. But I guess, you for those kinds of things you're talking about, you make equipment adjustments for that too. Because you don't want to be lugging around like a 991 or something.
Right. Yeah, it's
Although that's what Adam does apparently. He takes like a 7300 up the side of a mountain.
hey, power to you. I mean,
Yeah.
7300 has a lot of nice features on it. For yeah, if you
Yeah.
could do it, go for it.
And do you have any more soda plans?
Uh, Not sure. I mean, I enjoyed the one that we did. I know that there's a couple others in Connecticut. I haven't really looked into the program too much. I was more there because it was also K 1717, and also happened to be a soda spot for Whiskey One Hotel 002. So uh, I might look into the sodas because I've probably been to most of them without even knowing it. That's been the other
Probably.
nice thing about POTA is that before I would just look on Google Maps and say, hey, there's green. I'm going there. And go like run around the woods looking for different species of mushroom or whatever, depending on what type of forest was in that area. And yeah, now I know the names of a lot of the state parks and their designators and have the cell phone numbers of the rangers that go with them.
That's awesome.
Always
All
be
right,
good
man.
to your rangers out there. They're good
Huh?
people. Be good to the rangers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially around DC. If you're a dick to the Rangers in DC, I'll come and beat you up because I want to keep playing POTA in those parks. So, all right. Well, um, I think this is where we're gonna shut it down for the night. Especially because FT8 off is starting or it's already started. I don't know. I could never keep track. But anyways, thanks for coming on, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
I've had a ton of fun chatting about POTA and portable ops with you. So, yeah, I will see everybody on Sunday for the Ham Radio Campfire. And I hope you all have some fun with Ham Radio and 7 threes.
7-3, guys.